Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to JP Broadcasting. And welcome into round 2 of League Zero Super Formula Championship here out at Algarve International Autodromo International Algarve, also known as Portimao. I'm your commentator Hamish, joined once again by Dean Biggles here alongside me. Dean, I love Portimao. I'm very, very excited. Last week at the Red Bull Ring, we had an immense race here across 2 different races for round number 1. And now tonight, we go racing at Algarve, which is a circuit that I was incredibly excited for when I saw it into the iRacing service. I had been saying for years, we need Portimao, and we finally got it. And every time I've come here, I've seen some incredible racing. I think tonight, with these super formulas across the Honda and the Toyota, we're going to be in for something very, very special, my friends. So, first of all, how are you on this beautiful Friday for us, a Thursday for the people out in the US and Europe? It's going to be a great race.
It's not beautiful. It's been overcast and raining here where I am in Brisbane. In fact, I'm in my studio that's in a shed and it's soundproof, thankfully, so you won't hear all the bucketing down rain. No rain on this track. It's qualifying currently at the moment, as you can see, rolls just yanking the steering wheel roll, trying to get some temperature in. But yeah, can't complain apart from the fact that it doesn't charge my batteries well with solar.
And we got clear blue skies here in Victoria at the moment, so it's it's not any rain at this stage. I'm sure we'll get some probably next week at some point. It's always due in Melbourne, but I mean it's called 4 seasons in one. So we of course back up our doubleheader in Europe here tonight for Portimao before heading out to Portland next week for round 3. But I think what's important to note at this circuit, Dean, it's very, very similar to last week at the Red Bull Ring. But we can see, we start here in Europe, we then get the triple header in the US, move back to Europe from Monza for a week, then down to Phillip Island, to the Nürburgring, to Autodromo Internacional Enzo y Dina Ferrari, also known as Imola, and second the Americas to end out. And I think this first part of the season, big test, big make or break part of the season. And I think with a lot of seasons, especially with a 10-round season, we're going to find out who are our championship competitors probably by round 4 out at Long Beach, although it's a bit of an X-Factor Long Beach, so maybe we'll say round 5 at Sebring. But I think tonight it's a big test. They've got to deal with the curb strikes they can get at this circuit. They've got to deal with even just regular off-tracks as well, but also dealing with, the undulation changes. This place is almost like a roller coaster ride. You're up and down hills through fast and then through tight corners around this place, and it's one that takes a little bit of tenacity to kind of get used to, but there's some good passing opportunities, some good opportunities for battles as well. And I think one where you can pull out a good strategy play too, so it'll be interesting to see how these drivers play that one out. I think qualifying could be quite important though, but I think there is opportunity for drivers who may find themselves deeper in the field to make up some spots early in race 1 and then really take advantage of that in race 2.
That's what it's all about with the 2 races that you mentioned, as Merchant just goes even quicker again at 24.5 on the dial. Not a bad time. We'll show you the gaps to the leaders as well rather than the intervals, as we are still underway in our qualifying. Thank you everybody for tuning in as well too. Please like and subscribe, and please give us a shout out to any particular driver or drivers that you're following from all these different nationalities around the world, mainly a majority of them, as you can see, from the United States of America. But,
a couple of Europeans in there, though.
Yeah,
and Brazil.
Europeans. It's French, perhaps Irish. And
so Irish or Ndobe and Mel. I mean, who knows? Maybe English, maybe Welsh, maybe Irish, maybe all the above. That's unless they were to set up their SDK to give us the exact country flag that they're from, it's only a guessing game for that point there. But
time for the Merchant Hamish hot lap. So
Hamish hot
would you like to select?
Yeah, we didn't really get one last week. We're coming around the final corner here with Felipe Sarkis, so let's hop on board with him and follow him around for a lap here of the wonderful Portimao circuit. It's a fast run down towards turn 1, and as you can see, running as wide as possible out towards the left-hand side. Don't want to clip any of that grass, but you want to try and set yourself up for a good run through here. Catch some AstroTurf, cut it in tight, and then get yourself ready for the braking zone around the next right-hander. Hard under brakes, get it as tight as possible. Got to be careful, though, of not going too tight too quickly, otherwise the rear end's going to come around and say hello to you as you come through that corner. As we come down now towards the what is the change up here of the Grand Prix style of circuit into the hard brake zone at the bottom of the hill. When they ran Formula 1 here, they ran the corner just slightly further up the road than that deeper corner there as we run around towards the fast-flowing midpoint of this circuit. Again, you're just trying to keep this car on the edge of grip as you run as much pace through these corners as you can. And then it's a fast run down the hill and then sweep straight up to the left towards the top. Blind crest at this hill, blind as you enter the corner as well. Got to be cautious. If there's cars ahead of you who've had a moment there, you need to be prepared to just lift off and then make a movement if you have to, because very easy to get caught out. Same thing here. You come up, you can see the apex of the corner, but you can't see the exit until you're there. And you run round through the right-hander as well, trying to keep this thing as tight as possible through this long Parabolica-esque corner, and then around towards the final Parabolica here of Portimao. It's a very, very quick lap, Dean. It's a very, very intense lap as well. Not much breathing space around this place. You only really get a breath down the main straight as you start another lap.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. That was a fantastic Hamish hot lap guide around this track, which, as you see, the elevation changes really mix up as somebody straight into the kitty litter, into the fence out there in the qualifying. But thankfully, the T-car will be all ready for them in the garage. Another one that, well, I mean, it's the British version of this track would have to be Brands Hatch, wouldn't it? With the elevation changes.
Yeah, I think Brands Hatch very, very similar in terms of its elevation change. I think there's a little bit of everything in terms of British circuits comparatively to this place. I mean, you take the elevation changes from Brands Hatch, you take some of those fast flowing, plus also the combination of tight corners of possibly the historic Silverstone more so than the newer Silverstone. But then, you know, there's even certain characteristics of the likes of Donington Park. Even a little bit of, is there even a little bit of knockhill about it, minus the tightness of the circuit, Dean? I think, you know, there's little pieces around this place that are very, very comparable. I compare this track, actually, it's almost a direct comparison to Navarra out in Spain. They're very, very similar circuits, very similar layout, very similar flow of racing as well around both places. They're almost like Iberian cousins, if you will, for Navarra and Portimao. So, but yeah, in terms of English circuits, I think there's a little bit of historic Silverstone, a little bit of Brands Hatch, maybe just a sprinkling of Donington Park around here. So I think it's got a bit of everything, and I think it offers up some fantastic racing, as I said, some great battling as well. But it's a track that is very, very difficult to wrap your head around sometimes too, depending on what car you've got here.
You do know your tracks, don't you? Wow.
I do. I do.
Absolutely do.
I own every single road circuit on iRacing at this point, Teen. I've had to learn the characteristics of circuits and how well they suit as qualifying comes to an end. I always make I don't always make a point, but it often always comes up, what's the track you want on iRacing? The track I want more than anything at this point that we don't have is Brno out in the Czech Republic. I think it'd be fantastic for the iRacing service. But starting grid,
okay.
Yeah, starting grid for this race though will be as follows. We've got Adam Merchant starting on pole alongside Felipe Sarkis on the front row of the grid, and Ndibe Emel on the second row alongside Leo Del Mar for your second row of the grid. AJ Brenner, Fabian Sanchez for the top 6, Larry Johnson, Michael Briscoe for the top 8 on the grid, Jace Meyer and Dustin Smith will make up our top 10. James Turnbull and KH Donahue will make up the top 12, while Gale Rolls and Nick Patterson for your 14, with Daniel Sekurchnik for the top 15, with Ryan Thilbor for the top 16, Xavier Cernav for the top 17 cars on the road, with Robert Nobel, Arturo Mayorga, Cameron Keel and Jacob Wilson at the back of the field for 21 cars, 21 fast-paced super formulas here at Autodromo Internacional Algarve. And all I can say is, Dean, to League Zero, to everyone watching, obrigado. Thank you so much for being here with us, and thank you so much for taking your time out of your day, out of your lives to be here at JP Broadcasting. And if you're new here or you've been here for a while and you haven't already, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the bell icon as well. There's so much racing to come from all over the world. You get yourself a little worldwide world tour here at JP Broadcasting, all the leagues that we broadcast here. So be sure to hit the subscribe button. You might find something you've never seen before. You might even find some racing styles you've never seen before, and ones that you might just fall in love with as well. But with only a few moments away from lights going up, Dean, it's full intensity and full pressure in these seats of these cars.
Yeah, there he is. I was waiting for the pole sitter to come in, so here we go.
Here we go. Lights up. And Autodromo Internacional Algarve. 5 lights. And we're underway once again for League Zero. Race 1 this evening. 8 laps to come your way as we scramble towards turn number 1. Cars are going here, there, or everywhere, deciding where they want to attack this circuit early on. Do they make those early moves? It's sprint here in the first race. Of course, 8 laps going to go by very, very quickly. Only a minute and a half for each lap time as drivers are trying to find their way round as the car's already gone through. That's Adam Merchant off the exit of turn 4. Round he goes, and to the very back of the field he goes as well, as we've already got movers happening down towards the hairpin at the bottom of the hill. They're trying to find anything they can. Got to be careful though that they do not get overrun or overhung with any cars around them. Off the back of Felipe Sarkis now, and Dean Bayamel hot on his heels, putting the major pressure at this stage of the race. But Dean, it's heartbreak for Adam Merchant on lap 1. He's going to have all the work to do in race 2 this evening, because realistically speaking, across 7 laps left in this race, there's no way he can make up as much time as he's just lost here in a span of about 5 seconds.
Not unless there's a potential big accident up the road there. That's probably the only way that he can get. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Pole setter went from the penthouse to the outhouse, and Larry might be joining him down there, Larry Johnson.
Yeah. So Larry Johnson has now dropped down to P18 on the road, but Adam Merchant is still stuck behind him. This was up around the top of the hill for Larry Johnson, so they'd come up to the blind corner, then back down the hill again. And was there contact there, or was that self-made?
Looks self-made, I would say so. Big challenge at the front here with the but a Zillion getting under a massive attack there from Emil, who's also got AJ in the background, just lurking. He's going, okay, these top 3 at the moment, anybody's game. And those laps clicking over quickly.
Do we think Felipe Sarkis has a little bit of, we'll say, unfair advantage, seeing as he speaks the language of the Portuguese people out here at Portimao? Quite possibly.
He could be shutting out some celebrations in Portuguese, or some other words if he doesn't get the win.
He very well could, as he leads the way now. And DBML under pressure here from AJ Brenner. Fabian Sanchez would love to take advantage of this as well, as we ride on board with Brenner at the top of the hill. Now watch this fast-paced downhill run. Tyres get so loaded, and as you come back up again, you're straight onto the brakes. And that's one of the toughest things. Cold tyres like one. You can see DB just getting a little bit loose on the exit there. Didn't quite get the line that he wanted, as Brenner's now able to run around the outside at the Parabolica. He isn't able to get the pace though. That's the differential. If you can get the drive on the inside line, it allows you just to drive straight out of the corner and get back into the position where you want to be. Of course, majority of the grip's on the inside. You're on the outside line. It's very tough to get the power down in these cars. So he's pretty lucky. I think the only way he could have gotten the outside run is he gets the move done through turn 1. The only way he was ever going to get that done there, Dean, was if it was late race and D-Bay was on old tyres on that inside line, and AJ had the newer tyres leading into that move. So at this point of the race, not likely going to happen, but he finally got it done at turn 1 anyway. But as we move on, we can see that Ndibe still wanting to keep the pressure up, doesn't want to let Fabian pass, but as they continue to battle, it's going to allow Fabian and Leo Delmar behind to get back at them, as Ndibe takes back P2 from Brenner, and we run up into the midpoint of the circuit now. So the more that these guys battle, the more that they go at it, the more they go to and fro, it's going to turn from a one-on-one to a triple threat to a fatal four-way between them. But Felipe is going to be laughing at the front of the field, because he's going to be allowed to just run away with things and take a race win if they don't get a move on and try and catch up to him.
Absolutely right. Yeah, Felipe is going to be loving this battle up behind him at the moment. And as you said, what was that, a four-way thing?
A one-on-one triple threat fatal four-way.
I've never heard that. Welcome, of course. It's Hamish's fantastic comms, of course, in this fantastic race that you expected to see around here. Adam Merchant is fighting his way back up at the moment, you believe it or not, from the penthouse to the outhouse and back into the kitchen, I have to say, whatever is halfway between both of those. But he currently is in P13, putting
maybe the backyard patio. Maybe that's where he is at the moment. Backyard patio. He's back in a P13 on the back of David Sakurchik. His name always gets me, and then I say it right, and then it's good.
Push the pass use on both of them as well, too. You can see the flashing light. That's also what happened as well, too, with ML. Wasn't he was using that push to pass? So remember, they do have that available at that halfway through currently a Heat 1 race.
Yeah, it can be used either to obviously attack, but also defend as well. And they get, of course, 200 seconds total across the race of deployment. Excuse me. Yeah, they get 100. They get 200 seconds total of deployment, plus then the 100 seconds of wait time as well. So they're realistic. They're going to have to be smart about how they use it across both races. Of course, it will reset for race 2, as Larry Johnson's had another moment further back. Oh, we're not going to compound his pain. He's just ended up in the sand trap, mind you,
Yes.
from what I've seen. So we won't break his heart any further as he gets it back going again. But the one thing that drivers are going to have to be more careful of, and I saw it yesterday, it's a D-Bay. Oh, no, that wasn't even a D-Bay. That was just the Toyota livery of Robert Nobel, or Nobles in the background. But one thing that I encountered yesterday in a session, Dean, that I saw for the we may have seen it last week as well, but it's the debris flag. It's the yellow and red vertical stripe flag that drivers will see out on track if there's too much gravel that's been dragged onto the circuit. So if they're not aware what the flags mean, yeah, it is. Yeah, if they have added it. I think they added it in this latest update since they updated the debris model, or they updated the way it comes onto circuit. So because it stays on there, they've added that flag in. So they added it alongside obviously the ping flag that's been added down for drivers with horrid ping out on circuit. So it's one that if you're not aware of racing flags, and they're not, and they might not be aware of the entire color code of racing flags. And of course, it's never been an iRacing up to this season. So if they're not aware what the debris flag is, they're going to soon find out. Especially if it may not be explained to them in-house. But if they watch this back, at least we've explained that, yes, that yellow and red flag that you see when there's some gravel on circuit, it means that there's debris there in your way, which I think they're probably going to get it into that section there, because there's still a heap of gravel on that left-hand side of the road.
That's very interesting to know. It's good they've added that. And once again, kicking up that gravel all over the track there. It's not going to give you so much traction. As you can see, a tiny little lock up there from KH. But it lives to see another day. And I just want to quickly go back and have a look at that lap 1, because this will go pretty quickly with the battle to the end of this race. This is the man that put it on pole that went from the penthouse to the outhouse, and just on his own, isn't that cold tyres? Yeah. And he'll be fuming in that car, because you have to sit there and just count, listen to all those cars zooming on by. I
think what the issue could be there, Dean, and it's one that is so simple that you can a simple mistake you can make. He's in qualifying mode still. He's used to being able to push through that corner just like he did then, but he was doing it on warm tires that had been scrubbed up, and they had the grip to get through there. Maybe turned in a little bit too tight and caught too much turb as Briscoe is sent from about a suburb back.
Wow.
Looks to get the job done. Donohue's going to come back at him though, but he's got the move done there. What a move though by Michael Briscoe to get that thing sound into P8 on the road now past Donohue. So they're going to keep battling all the way to the checkered flag on lap 8 and only a few laps time, but I think
impressive. I mean,
it was like we don't like to say it too often, but that was a big balls move, Dean. Like that was a full send. So he managed to get it done as Merchant now at the inside here of Theobald in towards the back
he might
of
get himself
Jace
in the
Meyer
top
and
10 here.
Donohue.
I think Adam can for sure. He's got a couple of laps up his sleeve. You can see the two cars there close for him, Donohue and Meyer. So
yeah,
and the pace that Merchant has is absolutely outstanding. Let's see. He might have just seen that before, that bold move, and he might go,
very
let
well
me try that one
He
too.
wants it at turn 1. Don't make it 3 wide. Nope, he's blocked that lane incredibly well. For Meyer, gets the move done. He's inside the top 10. Can he get himself to P9 through turn 1? He does. Job done on Jace Meyer and KH Donohue in the span of a straight and a corner. And now in P9 on the road, Adam Merchant looks to chase down Michael Briscoe up at P8. But Meyer's not happy. He wants to get back inside of the top 10. That was a little bit of handicap action there. Meyer getting kind of pushed back there by Donohue to then allow Merchant past. But we can see here that Theobald wants to get through as well. So this battle is intensifying. It's going to continue along throughout the next race as well, Dean. How much more intense are they going to get for race 2? Because it's a longer race. They've got to take their time. This one is a proper sprint. It's almost a rush to get to the checkered flag. Race 2 is going to be a little bit more. We're not going to. It's not endurance necessarily, but they're going to need to be a little bit more patient. But you can tell the laps are going by quick and fast. The drivers know the laps are going by quick and fast. You got to pick up any scraps that you can along the way.
Yeah, boy, you're going to pick up scraps, of course, anything you can possibly get. And I don't know if Adam at the moment is sitting in the hot seat on the penultimate lap now. He's sitting in the hot seat just to stay in that. Well, he did go up into P9 now. I thought that's perfectly fine. You're going to be on the front row on our feature race.
I've mentioned it prior to this as well, of a lot of series will run as we get the white flag. They'll run that reverse top 10, and I actually think your better position is you finish P9 in race 1, because you're going to get more points for finishing P9 as the ball goes down the inside of Meyer. Of Donahue. Doesn't want to let him go. Still side by side through turn 3, up through 4 now. And he gets the job back done again. So, yeah, I actually think your better option is finishing P9, because you still get a front row start. Plus, you also get extra points for where you finish. So, people always say, "Oh, provisional pole's good." Provisional P2 is just as good. You're still on the front row of the grid. It's not like you're starting in a single file. So get those extra points. Yeah, start P2.
He won't make that same mistake twice either, I would imagine. Feature race.
Nope. I don't think he will. I think he'll take it a little bit easier in race 2, I would say. As we run up towards the top of the hill. Felipe Sarkis, though, has had a great run in this race. Took the lead very early from Adibe and Mel. And as Adibe and Brenner were battling on, it's allowed Sarkis just to run away from things and get up towards the front of the field as we run round the final parabolic now of Portimao. For the final time in race 1, Felipe Sarkis takes the win for Brazil and for Portugal. As Ndibe gets onto the podium with AJ Brenner P3. Fabian Sanchez will make it a double top 5 for his team. And Leo Dalmar will make up that top 5 with Dustin Smith, James Turnbull, Adam Merchant, Michael Briscoe and Jace Meyer for your top 10. So Merchant actually got past Briscoe. He wanted those extra points, and he's okay with starting on the second row of the grid. And I think longer race in race 2, starting P3 compared to the front row, not such a bad option for extra points in race 1.
On top of it, he just secured the fastest lap too on that last lap.
Yeah,
so for good measure, he's just rubbing a little salt into the wounds of some of those drivers that he got past and reminding the other drivers they didn't get past that, hey, he's going to be the one to mess with here in this feature race coming up.
And he's going to be ahead of those drivers that he didn't pass in this race. He's going to be behind drivers that he already passed in race 1. As we get our provisional race results there for race number 1, Felipe Sarkis out of P1 and DB and Mel finishes out of P2 this evening. AJ Brenner for P3, Fabian Sanchez, Leo Delmar for your top 5, Dustin Smith, James Turnbull, Adam Merchant, Michael Briscoe and Jace Meyer for the top 10. KH Donahue, Ryan Tilbor, David Sekernick, Robert Nobels and Larry Johnson for the top 15, Jacob Wilson, Xavier Cernar, Cameron Keel, Arturo Mayorga, Nick Patterson and Gail Rolls at the back of the field. Rolls and Patterson down 6 laps. They didn't get very far. Mayorga down 5. Keel was the last driver on the lead lap in that race.
Yeah, exactly. With such a short sprint, it's very, very difficult. Although, you did see with Merchant how charging his way back through the field. I like that. He's got that Winston Churchill-like thing. He doesn't need to get the cigar in the mouth and go, "We'll never give up, we'll never surrender." On Brandy on the other hand as well. Never surrender, just fight your way back through there. Points are points, as you'd mentioned. And it comes down to, and we've seen this before in many championships, you come down to the very end and you're separated only by a couple of points. You're always going to roll back and look at these earlier races and go, why didn't I just go back out there and see what I can grab for scraps?
Well, we've got a small little 5-minute warm-up session now for these drivers to go and get themselves refreshed, maybe use their facilities at home or get themselves a little bite to eat or a little drink as they prepare themselves for race 2. 26 laps to come your way for race 2, mind you, as well. Let's chat about this calendar for a moment here. Portland International Circuit for round 3 next week. Got an update this week in iRacing, so we'll see how that's now affected that circuit. Of course, brand new into the iRacing service this season for iRacing of season 2 of 2025. Long Beach Circuit I'm incredibly excited about. It's my favorite street circuit in iRacing. I look forward to it every time it comes up on a calendar because I know it's either going to be fantastic racing or it's going to be pure chaos. It's never an in-between, and I think we're going to be on for something special at that race. Sebring for round 5, of course, the iRacing Sebring 12 Hour was only a week or so ago, so drivers who did participate in that race at least have got some on-track practice around there, and if they drove the prototype around there, prototype and open wheel, they're basically the same thing. It's very, very similar driving style, of course. Monza, home of open wheel racing in Europe, Dean. I think that's going to be one that will offer up some fantastic racing for us at round 6. And I think one that it'll give us a very similar style of races tonight at Algarve. I think it's one that definitely offers up some positive racing for us. Phillip Island, absolutely exciting. At least we get some representation outside of the broadcast booth, Dean, in this series by having a circuit from Australia on the calendar. The Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecker circuits, the WEC layout of the Grand Prix circuit for round 8 on May 8th. Autodromo Internacional Enzo e Dino Ferrari for Imola out at round 9. And then, the Circuit of the Americas for the final round of the season. Big season coming up, Dean. A great world tour of phenomenal circuits all over the world. And Portland next week, that's the X Factor. That's the new circuit the drivers would not have had very much time to race at before. Every other circuit on the calendar after that has been on the iRacing service for well over a year or 2 years at this point.
But you love it, the AI technologies these days as well, too, just to throw an AI-generated track in there with only 20 minutes to practice and warm up on. That would be interesting, but of course that may be something in the future. Which is your favourite one to look out on that one? Phillip Island, of course, as you mentioned. If you go off the track too far, mate, you're in the drink. You're in the ocean.
Yeah, you are. And I think I'm a big fan of Imola. I think Imola offers up some fantastic racing. But I think out of all of them, what's going to give us the best race that we're going to see is probably going to be the Nürburgring. But I think that I love Long Beach too much to not say Long Beach. I love Long Beach. Yeah. I love the chaos and the carnage it brings. The fountain, of course. The Formula D section at the back end of the circuit too. It's one that I love chaos and I love concrete barriers, and I think Long Beach is going to be it's as close as we're really going to get to St. Petersburg on iRacing for the time being. So I think it's one that I'm incredibly excited for. I am excited for Phillip Island as well. Obviously, it's it's one of my 2 local tracks that I can get to relatively easily within an hour of where I live. So it's I think personally Imola, Long Beach, but I think the Nürburgring will give us the best racing across the rest of the season. I think it's just a track that a lot of people would have had some good laps at, especially being the Grand Prix circuit as well. So it's quite exciting.
Warm-ups, I'd have to agree with you on that one. Warm-ups are just about to completed. They're 5 minutes. Some of the drivers have elected just to sit back and relax. Maybe even look back at the previous race there and review the tape and see what they could have done better or see what they can do better. One thing that's interesting is that I didn't see any drivers out there practicing their race starts. I think that's kind of crucial to use that warm-up time, isn't it? And these conditions as well, too. Just get out there on the grid there and just switch your car on and, gas it. Even practice the race starts around the circuit as you do a lap. You just pull it over to a little straight part, though, as we get our starting grid for this race. Leo Del Mar will start front row of the grid ahead of Fabian Sanchez on the front row. AJ Brenner and Adibe Amel for your top 4. Felipe Sarkis for the top 5. So that's the reverse grid portion. Actually, we forgot that there's only a top 5 reverse grid here this evening. Dustin Smith, James Turnbull, Adam Merchant, Michael Briscoe, Jace Meyer for your top 10. So it didn't really matter that Merchant took an extra spot. He just got himself extra points. KH Donahue, Ryan Tilbor, David Sekernick, Robert Nobles, and Larry Johnson for your top 15. Jacob Wilson, Xavier Cernav, Cameron Kill, Arturo Mayorga, Nick Patterson, and Gal Rolls for the rest of the grid. As lights are up for Portimao once again. Race 2 coming your way. It's underway as Sanchez has bogged it off the start on the front row as we run down towards... No, that was Leo Del Mar bogged it off the start as it's a scramble through turn 1. Contact's already happened. Early on at turn 1. Cars have been spun round. It's chaos here at Portimao. And oh my God, drivers having to take evasive action, some better than others. As we run up through 3 and 4, Keel has been massively damaged. Turnbull as well, Johnson and Tilbor all involved. But it was Del Mar who bogged it off the start, lost a heap of spots and went back to where he finished in race number 1. But for Sanchez and Amel and Brenner and Merchant, they've taken the most advantage as Merchant is now up 4 spots into P4 on the road. David Sekernick inside of the top 8, now up 5 positions as well, as Sarkis is trying to come back and get up towards the front of the field to try and get another win here tonight in Portugal. Yeah, a bit of carnage there, wasn't it, at the start? We'll go back and have a look at the replay in just a second, but yeah, it worked out perfectly for Adam Merchant. And how how ironic, wasn't it, that we were talking about practicing your race starts, and then of course we have a couple of drivers that bog down.
Yep. Yep. It's it's one of those things. You've either got to take advantage of the warm up, or you've just got to go use the most amount of time possible to go get yourself refreshed, and hope that the refreshment has helped you be prepared for the race start. But it hasn't worked out for Leo Del Mar this time by. This was the start though, down towards turn number 1, and you'll just see the amount of carnage that gets created. So one of the cars got clipped through and lost that rear wing, spins around, then a sympathy spin there from Larry Johnson, who managed to stay out of strife as others were trying to avoid the little purple nurple that had gone around off the exit as well of James, I think it was either James Turnbull or Cameron Keel possibly, down at turn 1. As we can see here, Michael Briscoe and KH Donahue battling alongside Jace Meyer once again. So this battle continues on from race number 1. It's just as intense. Is it going to be this intense for 26 lap, Dean, or is 26 laps, or is one of them going to break at some point?
Yeah, well, it's tires as well too. They're going to start falling off the cliff, aren't they? Yeah. They're driving the absolute pants off these cars, the wheels off these cars. So they've got to take care of them, because you're in for a long haul now, remember, being the feature race. And there's Adam Merchant on a rampage again there. He's on the back there of AJ Benner. Well, maybe not on the back anymore. It might be at the front. That's a teammate there. Whether or not his teammate orders to say, let me through or not. It's too early in the season. You'd have to say whether or not you're selecting a number 1 number. No,
way too early.
Yeah, there's no orders in play here. They're fighting.
Yeah, they've got the, as F1 fans would say, they've got papaya rules set up at the moment. Just allowed to battle here as they come through the first of the 2 parabolicas of Algarve. And, I think that realistically, they're going to be smart here. They're going to work together. They'll try and get both cars into the top 2, get that 1-2 finish in this race. They've got 23 more laps to do it. As we cross the line, Amel sets the fastest lap of the race at 126.24, but Donahue is a rocket ship down the main straight, trying to get this job done at the moment here. On to Leo Del Mar, who has had such a horrid start. In fact, he's gone backwards to P10 on the road. It's really, really screwed up the equilibrium, really screwed up the mindset that Del Mar now brings into this race. And that's one thing that can ruin you, Dean. A horrid race start can almost ruin the mentality that you bring into the rest of the race. You're down in the dumps. You're thinking, oh, if only I got such a better start. At this point of the race, though, for Del Mar, as we get a lock up from Donahue, very lucky not to make contact. If you're Del Mar, at this point, you just got to put your head down, say, F it. Let's just push on and see what we can get out of this race, because there's no point dwelling on the bad start that he got, as Merchant now gets up into P2 past Sanchez and has a Mel set in his sights. Del Mar is still dropping at this point.
Yeah, he's had a moment. He's gone up the track there, as Adam Merchant did get past Fabian Sanchez now, so he's trying to hunt down ML in the lead. Oh, he's just run really wide, hasn't he? And often the kitty litter comes onto the track. And
it's one of those things. It's you get broken mentality on track, and it's amazing how much it affects your racing. As Donahue's gone round further back there, he's off the road on the other side of the hill.
Yeah, that's the Hornet's nest right now, isn't it? Currently on the track, and he's just lost it on his own. He's just hit the loud pedal, and the car's just said, "Okay, I'll scream for you."
I'll send you around as Del Mar's come into pit lane, so he's looking to take some fresh tyres on that car, possibly with a little bit of gravel on there still. As we can see, that Tilbot is keeping the pressure up now on Nick Patterson and Gale Rolls as they battle on through. Up the inside, he wants both of them. Rolls gives him heaps of room. Maybe a little bit too much room. He was pretty lucky that Gale was a bit nice about it, but they've both lost out to Nick Patterson, who's now got past them. So it was an audacious move by Ryan Tilbot. It paid off. It very easily could have ended in tears, though, Dean, if Gale wasn't so nice and gave him about a bus width of room through turn 3.
Smart driving to realise that it's a long race, and don't want to put 2 cars out on lap 4. So that's exactly right. You said there's that kitty that's been kicked up from that moment just before. So it will get a bit tricky there if you get on your loud pedal. Further up at the field there, AJ Brenner's now starting to climb into the Sanchez number 8 machine. You can see on your pictures, and you got to keep your eye out for the number 4, our previous heat winner as well too. Felipe is hunting them down and screaming out to the Portuguese. Probably be the fan favourite here at the moment because it's the closest you're going to get to.
I don't know if the Brazilians have got the love from the Portuguese population, or if they're more or less rivals of the Portuguese population. You'd have to ask the
Well, if it's football, it would always be rivals, but maybe.
Well, yeah, they would. It'd be the battle of who's better, R7 or R9. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if on track, if because they speak the same language, they're suddenly fans. Because otherwise, English Grand Prix fans, Australian Grand Prix fans, or US Grand Prix fans would be incredibly big fans of those who speak English. Which in this modern day and age of Formula One is everyone on the grid. Yeah. So. It doesn't really add up. But this is now becoming a bit of a team battle between them. Sarkis and Brenner battling it out, and then their teammates Sanchez and Merchant trying to battle it out too. But Merchant's just got so much pace in that car as he's now set a fastest lap, 126.19. He's managed now to build up a 1.3 second gap over Sanchez. And I can guarantee you Amel is going to start to sweat as that time starts to come down, as that 1.5 seconds starts to shrink. The sweat is going to start to pour because he knows the kind of pace that Merchant has. And realistically, at this point of the race, it's, do you defend it, Dean, or do you let him go? If you let him go, he's going to run away and you're never going to see him again. Yes. But if you defend him, you're then going to be risking your own race. And that's the tough balancing act at this point of a race.
And Adams responded. So fastest lap being exchanged between the two drivers. I just wanted to try to keep an eye on the cockpits to see if any of them are using these overtake push-to-passes, really. Which, once again, you can use to defend as much as you can use to attack, which I love. And I think Formula One should have implemented that ages ago. But
well, they had it years and years ago in the early stages of the KERS system, where you could deploy that across the lap, but that wasn't time limited across the whole race as Briscoe's into pit lane. But for I think these cars don't have DRS. They've only got the push-to-pass button, which means you can use it all around the lap. I do feel that DRS kind of takes away some of the ability to pass, but I think Formula One at this point is so far gone from what it used to be that it doesn't have the same magic that it once had. You look back even 15 years ago. Chinese
Grand Prix, a bit of a full of sleep during that one recently, and that's got usually a lot of overtaking opportunities. As I'm going to go back to the battle behind here.
The one thing I will say about Formula One is they build the hype better than anyone else. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's all it is at this point. It's all hype. You get some moments when there's some weather, as Sarkis wants to get past his teammate Sanchez.
You know that Bernie had an idea that they're both using push to pass. You can see there as well in the middle. Fabian wasn't, but AJ is trying to get that slipstream to work. But one thing Bernie had a good idea with was he was thinking about doing pop-up sprinklers on certain tracks, and
I did hear of this.
Randomize, some sort of computer that just generates it. It might happen, it might not.
You know what? Not mad at that thought.
Yeah.
Honestly, you go to some countries, like you go to Yas Marina or Bahrain. When was their last a wet race at Bahrain? Exactly.
And they have the money to implement that watering system for the whole track. I mean, they've got a test track too, don't they? I think one of the
they do, because they obviously when they did Formula One testing, they have to be able to test wet weather running. So they have the sprinkler system there. As Merchant is now hot on the heels of Nodibe ML up at the front of the field. So this battle's now going to start to materialise a little bit. Lap 7 of 26. We're on our way towards lap 8 at this stage. And Merchant is showing him his pace early, and maybe even just showing us that it was only a small chink in the armour that he had in race 1. It was a little mistake. It was a one-off. It's not something that's ever going to happen again. And he's going to try and make sure it at this point of the race. But yeah, I think if you were to implement the random rain system, we'll call it, with the sprinklers, you'd want to do it at circuits where we've never had wet running.
Yeah. And the circuits they can afford it too, and you can't do it on street circuits like Melbourne and stuff.
So Qatar, at Bahrain, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. They're building a new track out there, so they could probably start implementing it now if we get the fan boost behind it and say, let's bring it in.
Yeah, I think they could. I think they could implement it for sure, but I think it's like it almost just seems too far gone at this point for Formula One. I mean, it's they're in, as Sarkis wants it down the inside of Brenner. So this battle is still continuing on. Brenner's holding his own though against the teammates. He's managing to come back at them and continue this battle on throughout this point of the race. But we know the tyres are not going to last too long the longer that they battle. They're going to have to take some leeway at some point just to hang back and save those tyres until their stop in this one, so they can take a fresh set if they want to, and push on towards the end of this race. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Formula One is so far gone. Like, bring back the days of 2007, 2008, where there's way too much error on the cars, and they're just, it was just a better time. It was a better time in Formula One. The early 2010s, the late 2000s.
Yeah.
Comparatively to
Melbourne
now.
would have been, I think without the weather, Melbourne would have been a bit of a snore-fest. China was a snore-fest. I mean, let's hope it doesn't end up. I mean, there's no dramatic changes in these cars this season too, remember, because of the fact that they're all focusing on next year. Oh, pit stop from Fabian.
Yeah.
So he wanted to get out of that one.
Fabian,
We'll keep an eye on this. Sprint down to turn 1. Both of them using push to pass.
Yeah, they want to try and hang together, and neither of them want to let the other one get away at this point of the race. I've noticed as well, Merchant's also now caught up to the back of a Mel further up the road, just to keep an update on that. He wants moves, but he's not pushing too hard. As we cut to it, he's round the outside at the bottom of the hill, so he does want to get past him. He's got the push to pass on, and D-Bay holding his own at the moment, keeping his push to pass in check as we run up through the double right-hander. Job done for Adam Merchant. Oh,
contact.
but he's gone around and there's been contact!
Oh, sorry for the cameras. Are horrible there. Wow.
So there's contact between them. So he'd already gone, and it was netcode that then broke Amel's car.
Larry Johnson's
So
had a
now
moment too.
he has. So now for Merchant, it's you have to come back and pretty much pick up from what happened to you. For Amel, he's now going to have to use that fast repair that he has in hand to fix the front end of that car, because it would be absolutely screaming. Oh no, it's actually self-fixed itself. I've just seen Dean actually. So Amel's car's perfectly fine. It broke a wheel and then it fixed itself. So
I just wanted to
interesting how that could play out.
rewinding it, just that we don't have a very good much time to kind of have a geezer at what happened here. Maybe at the far chase might give us a better indication. Yeah, slow it down. Just hit here. It's the inside apron, and
he hit the sausage curb at the wrong angle, and it's just lifted the rear of the car.
And there's that contact, which is right. We're not supposed to use the N word. Adam goes in the pit road, but then iRacing doesn't like it when we announce that.
Well, maybe they should fix it.
They're trying. It's better, a lot better on the ovals, of course.
On the ovals, that's fine, but I've seen a bus. I've literally seen a bus width between cars and netcodes happened.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have a lot of international drivers like that. It is a bit tricky because they have to connect to one server.
Exactly.
Well, it's got a bit of breathing space now, doesn't it, Mr. Ferrari livery?
Yeah. In D-Bay Amel, does he maybe think he's a bit of a Lewis Hamilton, possibly?
Yeah.
At this point,
very much could be a Lewis Hamilton fan. So 4 seconds gap that he's got over Felipe now, our race 1 winner. There's a little bit of a nice battle brewing back here with Rolls and Donahue. Gale.
Yeah, Rolls has had a crash, but now he's got back going again, and these guys are now going to start the battle. Merchant, mind you, is still in pit. He's only just exiting. He's had a stop hold. I reckon he's sped into pit lane. Quite possibly. Or he was trying to fix the car and didn't want to use a fast repair. So that would be the only thing I could think of.
Almost halfway through the race, you'd want to use that fast repair now, wouldn't you? Because I think you might be right about a stop-go.
Yeah, I don't understand. Unless he was speeding in pit lane, I can have a look from my end just to double check what may have been the issue for him. Let's have a look here.
AJ's come out of pit road and he is in traffic, which is not what he's going to want after putting full freshies on. Oh, he's really pushing out of it. Gets onto the chicane there and just keeps it. Fabio Sanchez now, another one that's got traffic straight out of pit road. That's Jacob Wilson up there. Yet to take a pit stop, but he's going to dispose of him now so he can get up and catch AJ Brenner up the road, who has taken his pit stop.
So the only thing I can find that possibly may have caused Merchant to get a stop hold penalty was just an improper pit entry. he wasn't speeding. He was down to 60 kilometers per hour prior to the yellow cones at the pit entry. So I'd say at this stage it was either improper pit entry or he hasn't even had enough off tracks to get it. So other than that, I don't know. No answers for you without talking
Hamish
to him.
is on the case. Detective Hamish down there. We need Ted Kravis.
Yeah, we need Ted Kravis.
Yeah, Ted Kravis will run down there and find out exactly the information that we need
He
to
will
find.
go. He will go and talk to the mechanics of that team.
Yes.
Figure out where they live, where they come from, just to know what happened to Adam Merchant in pit lane and why he had a stop all penalty.
Absolutely.
As this battle commences now with AJ Brenner and Rolls and
So
Sanchez.
will want to get past, yeah.
Yeah.
Hold the Mayo, Arduro, I think it is. I'm just going to call you, the first name's May, so let's get
Arturo Mayorga.
Yeah, Mayorga. So, because he hasn't taken his pit stop yet, so Fabio doesn't want to get held up too much. He wants to catch the back there of AJ, which he's finally got the job done. You got to understand fresher boots too. You'd have a lot more confidence in the braking areas and the acceleration as well.
The only issue is, though, that Brenner has also now got the fresher set of tyres comparatively to Sanchez. So the harder that Sanchez has to work to catch Brenner, the better that's going to work out for AJ in terms of holding him back. And, well, for this stage, we're at the halfway point of the race, and DBML leads the way as Jace Meyer comes into pit lane. Felipe Sarkis P2, Dustin Smith, David Sekernick, and Ryan Tilbor make up the top 5 at this stage. Larry Johnson finds himself hot on the heels of Nick Patterson for the P7 battle at this stage as KH Donahue backs out of it and comes into pit lane. Gail Rolls is also in. AJ Brenner continues on, of course. So this battle looks to continue on at this stage of the race for P7 on the road, but corrected, these guys would be dropping down outside of the top 10. Depending on where certain drivers have ended up after their pit stops here today.
Yeah, just wanted to work out those pit stops. We'll see if we get those pit stop times up there, because I've got the gap to leader now down the field there, so we can get an idea when the top drivers do box. Where's that going to slot everybody out? AJ Brenner is the car that's in the net lead of everybody who's taken a pit stop already. He's currently running in P8, but if you look at that, he's 46 seconds currently off our race lead. Would that be enough?
To get the lead, I don't think so. Because it's normally a net loss of about 35 seconds on average for every circuit for a pit stop. Because you've got to take into consideration that they're stopped for a certain amount of time, but they're also still moving at a slower pace. So the average normally turns out to be around about 30 to 35 seconds, depending on the circuit. Some circuits are less, especially in these cars, because obviously they're a shorter pit stop. They're only a handful of seconds comparatively to 20 or 30 seconds. So for certain circuits, such as Sandown, for example, which has a shorter pit lane, but of course with these cars with a faster stop, that works out to maybe less than 30 seconds, down to maybe 25 seconds for a loss in pit lane. So, but on average for this place, being a minute 30 lap time, it should be around about 35 seconds for their loss of time. So Mayorga and Wilson into pit lane.
Yep, so we'll keep an eye on this. Actually, I'm looking at the overall pit lane time is about 40 seconds, 41 seconds.
Yeah, on average.
Stationary, 7 seconds, so say between 7 and 8 seconds. And that's where Adam Merchant was in there for 57 seconds stationary, and his overall pit stop time was 1 minute 30.
Yeah, so he had a significantly longer stop, of course. 50 seconds longer than everyone else, which is longer than a stop hold. So I have a feeling maybe he was fixing damage on that car, possibly, instead of using a fast repair, maybe, because a stop hold is only 40 seconds, so it's, or even just 30 seconds. So that's way too much time to have sat there and fixed the car.
Daniel's off somewhere.
David Sekernick in P5 on the road, off there at the final parabolica, and the tyres are starting to wear and they're starting to hurt these drivers. So these drivers who are going long need to be careful of the tyre wear now, because they've started to drop. So for the likes of Felipe Sarkis and DBML, Mel's still running at top level pace, a 125.67 on the last lap. Sarkis was a 126.4, In comparison to Fabian Sanchez and Brenner, they're both in the 25s at the moment, so they're not catching Emel, but they are catching Sarkis in P2. So I would hazard a guess that they're both going to end up jumping him in this pit stop. They're not going to jump into eBay Emel though at this stage. He should come out in the lead, and most likely well in the lead at this point.
You can see at the moment only ML's in the 25 club as well as the guys. Oh, massive. So you're exactly right, isn't it? They're struggling on tyres. Although Jacob has been in the pit stop on lap 13. So you can see the 25s there for Brenner, AJ Brenner as well too. So Fabian stuff for Sanchez. That's good times they need to be doing, of course. And if they can get a little low 25s, that'll be perfect. There's a race leader coming across, and 126 there for Felipe. But of course,
Wilson,
remember they're on old boots.
Wilson's under pressure. Rolls gets past. They both had the overtake set. At that point, they've got similar age on their tyres. They both came in on lap 13, so Rolls gets that job done. Beautiful move into turn 1 for him, past Jacob Wilson. Ryan Tilbor into pit lane now, out of the top 5. That will promote Larry Johnson inside of the top 5, as he has remained on circuit at this point in time. So the drivers that realistically we focus on is Dibe Emel. How far out ahead does he come when he finally pits? Felipe Sarkis, where does he end up in terms of AJ Brenner and Fabian Sanchez? You'd have to argue that they're both going to get past him. He really needs to get the foot down now, start pulling away if he can. Dustin Smith will drop down. David Shakernick will drop down as well. Same with Larry Johnson. So.
Ooh. But a little bit of contact back here behind.
The debris is starting to hurt them down there, Dean. It's really playing a factor.
Adam gets past Cat. Look at that. Adam's on a rampage back through the field there. So I don't know. You're throwing everything at him in the kitchen sink here this evening. And he's still fighting. He's still fighting too for now. Time, unfortunately, is not on his side. Looks like Gale's come off the track here, mate.
Yeah, he's had a moment up at the top of the hill, out into the kitty litter. So that's more that's now been dragged onto the track. And he didn't really watch if anyone was there. He just kind of pulled it straight onto
he's
circuit.
Gone back wide again because he's still got all the kitty litter over his tyres. So coming into that corner at regular pace is not going to work, and has to concede those places.
Yeah, it's not a good move at that point there for Gal Rolls. Felipe Sarkis has now set another fastest lap of the race, a 125.31, as Larry Johnson comes into pit lane. So lap 17 of 26, we have got 10 laps to go of this race as Sarkis has begun his next lap. He's got 5.8 seconds up to the back of the race leader, Dibe Emel. But for Sarkis, he's just hoping he can keep this thing on the podium. So he's having to respond to AJ Brenner and Fabian Sanchez's lap times that they were pulling. It's going to be tight on pit exit when he comes out. He's not saving any fuel at this point. He's currently trying to wait for the overtake to come back on so then he can keep on pushing on in this race. But at this point as well, you may be holding on to some of that overtake, Dean. Maybe just
that's what I'm
trying
thinking.
To use it all.
I'd be you either burning it on an in lap, essentially, or you want to burn much of on an out lap, maybe not so much on an out lap to get your tires up to temperature. Currently at the moment, his gap to AJ Brenner is 41 seconds. So let's see Dustin Smith come in. So Dustin Smith was in that P3 position, but he was a little bit further back from Felipe. So let's give it a little bit of an indication. I would imagine Dustin Smith will probably come out behind Sanchez.
Yeah, I'd argue that. He may even come out around about Jace Meyer. The one differential is we mentioned that on average it could be about 35 seconds lost. The point we then have to remember is they're only stopped for 6 or 7 seconds, so they're actually not giving up too much stationary time in that. So that might actually extend the loss out a little bit more, because obviously they're taking 40 seconds to get through the lane. He does. What is wrong with him?
He's just very slow there. Maybe he's just allowing the quicker cars to go through while he's getting up to pace.
Yeah. It's a weird one. It's one that some drivers would have to try and deal with at this point. You can see that gravel that's at the top of the hill as well, just before the parabolica from Gale being off circuit. He's dragged that back on, but for Emel, does he come into pit lane or does he continue on for another lap here? He's in. So
stop it.
That answers the question. Get it pulled up. He does indeed. So now Felipe Sarkis is in too.
Yeah. Now, where's
So
AJ? Let's have a look at the track map too.
there he is there. He's just coming down the hill up towards the final few sections of this course. So he's coming around the Parabolicas, actually. No, sorry, no, not the Parabolica just yet. He's just at that little downhill section up towards the area, which we've seen so much action already tonight at the tightening right-hander.
Just in their pit boxes now. That's how further down it was there. So they're up on the jacks. It'll be quick out. Here comes AJ.
Yeah, down through the Parabolica now for AJ Brenner. So they're both exiting pit lane. Amel comes back out P1. Sarkis is going to come out well ahead of them in P2. So let's look at what the net loss was as they come down the straight. So what's the gap going to be? It was 41 seconds. Well, look at that. 6 seconds for Sarkis to Brenner. It was a 35-second loss.
Stationary pit stops are about 7.7, 7.9 for the top two. 7.2 for AJ, but that was back on lap number 10. Remember, these guys have now got freshest boots. So it's going to be the battle between the top two here if they can keep it on the track. Whether or not Felipe is just going to bank in those laps. But every time he has been put in those quick laps, Amel's just been responding. So it's even Stevens on between these two at the moment.
So at this stage, it looks like a DBML without making a mistake. We'd have to argue Dean probably would take the race win over the next 7 laps. It's going to be tough for Sarkis to cut down a 5-second lap over that time period, especially because of the pace that Amel has shown over the course of this race. To give our viewers out there an Adam Merchant update, he's back up to P13, but still a minute back, so well out of contention at this point of this race. And we've spoken about before, Dean, across a multitude of series, it doesn't matter how fast you are. It doesn't matter if you're the fastest in the field. You've got to be the most consistent.
Consistent is key.
You know, so for Merchant, inconsistency has cost him tonight across both races. Amel, and for Sarkis as well, the consistency has saved them. It's given them a saving grace. So, you know, they've both obviously got pace. They've both got speed, but they've also got the consistency to back it up. And that's the payoff for that one, as this was with Larry Johnson. I believe this was this turn 1?
Yeah,
it was turn
race.
1. Yeah.
We saw a bit of that carnage. We'll kind of have a look at...
So was that the dreaded netcode word that may have that may have caused that? So there was the initial contact with.
You had 4 into 1 as well at this point. Which
yeah,
not going to work.
No, so just not prepared to pull the car up as well. Is what Amel was very lucky not to cop damage. Actually,
this is our current race leader here, surviving. Well, not the Netflix driving to surviving, but surviving here. League Zero's turn 1.
I miss the NASCAR Netflix series. I wish that got another season.
That's good. Yeah, exactly.
That was very good.
As you see the carnage in the background. So,
not that I'm a NASCAR fan per se, but it was just a really, really well-made show.
Danny Hamlin?
No, I mean, I'm not a Danny Hamlin fan like James is. No. He's
got a love-hate fan base.
Yeah,
so our race leader here, just checking out to see if it's any push to pass being used, banking laps in. I don't think it's
in charge mode at the moment because of that blue light.
Yeah, all Felipe can do is just bang out qualifying laps after qualifying laps after qualifying laps, so that a spotter for Amel here is going to hear this radio going. He's getting quicker, he's getting quicker, he's getting quicker. So then Felipe could then apply that pressure to perhaps force Amel into a mistake, because that's the only thing. But Amel should be knowing I've got that 5-second gap at the moment. Got a bit of breathing space. I don't need to absolutely push it unless he starts slicing a second lap off me. Which at this point, does not look like it's going to happen.
Realistically, he'd have to be doing at top pace. Sarkis would have to be in the 24s, which we haven't even seen tonight. And for Amel, it's one thing for Sarkis to catch him at a second a lap. He's then got to get past him once he catches him. So Amel has got an immense amount of breathing space at this point as we ride on board with David Sukernick on the back of Michael Briscoe here. This is the battle for inside the top 10. So for Amel, he's not only got the breathing space of the 5.8 seconds that is now the gap, But once he catches him, he's got to be able to get past him too. And the longer it takes him to catch him, the less time he has to pass him. So I think at this point, Sarkis knows he can't catch him. He's going to settle for P2. He would still win the round in P2 of the road here tonight, being that he won race number 1 as well. And Amel did not get P2. So Sarkis will still win the round. He'll still get good points. He'll still leave Europe and Portimao as the round winner and a good solid chunk of points with that as well. And he'll come into Portland next week with a fresh outlook, trying to carry the momentum. The pressure's less so on him and less so on Amel as it is for Merchant. Merchant's the one that's going to have the big pressure for that US triple header with Portland, Long Beach, and Sebring. I think what's going to be most important over the next few weeks, Dean, is when we get to Long Beach, if drivers can maximize their performance at Long Beach and not have a horrible race there, that's going to be championship making for these drivers. That's going to be the one which tells us this person's in the fight, because they've not had to use this round as a drop round. They've been able to just come in, get a solid round out of Long Beach, and keep themselves with a lifeline going forward towards the end of the season.
What qualifying is going to be exactly right. Use it. Long Beach is your wild card for perhaps your drop round.
It's the X factor. If you can do well there, you're going to feel a lot less pressure than if someone has a horrible race there. That's for sure.
That's all about the qualifying at Long Beach. You want to be up the front there because you know there's a very, very high chance that there's going to be a wreck in the midfield or something like that, and on the first couple of laps, and you can't just go around and use the escape area at Long Beach, as you know. So if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, then you're in a bit of trouble.
It's like needing it. It's like being in an apartment fire without a fire escape. It's you got nowhere to go at that point.
You can go over the fountain if you want, but I'm not sure the suspension's going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I've seen cars go over that thing before, mate.
Yeah. You might have to pick some flowers for some people as an apology through that fountain. But Adam Merchant, though, who is on the comeback train at this point, is up to P12 on the road. He's got 6.8 seconds up to the next car in Nick Patterson as he starts to run away from Larry Johnson. So everyone's now started to spread out just a little bit in the field here this evening. For DBML, he is a few laps away from a race win as Sarkis goes fastest with a 125.08, nearly a 24.
Nearly a 24.
But even with a 24, it wouldn't be a second faster. So it is, with 6 seconds on the board, 2 laps left when ML crosses the line. It's 3 laps left at this point. Sarkis has got no hope of catching him, Dean. No hope. The only way he can do it is if ML makes a mistake. So I think for Sarkis, he'll leave Portimao, head held high, good solid chunk of points, consistent finish once again, and Amel will leave on the high that he took a race win in the feature race. So the one who's going to be feeling the pressure is undoubtedly Adam Merchant at this point.
Absolutely, and he's got to bounce back, as you said, for the next triple-headed races. Really, at this point, if you look at the track map as well, too, there's no traffic for these drivers out here. It's open skies, open track, so shouldn't be a problem. Merchant just takes that fastest lap. He got the 24 club. He says, "All right, boys." He's probably listening to on the broadcast and said, "Let me bring the 24s to the table." So going back to that,
let me just rip the tablecloth out from underneath all the dishes that you guys have just put there,
and everything standing still. The
exactly right.
Stuff.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep. So as Amel crosses the line and starts lap 25 of 26.
He's using that excess now, so you can't take it with you.
You might as well use it if you've got it.
Yeah, it might be now. It could be bragging rights for the fastest lap, because that's probably what you're going to be doing. I think whether it's going to be ML here, it's going to be Felipe, or will Adam still continue to keep it? But if they are burning this, as you can see, this pushed past, then absolutely looking like I'm thinking going to try to get the fastest lap here. There it is, overtake on. Look at the time left too. Plenty in reserve.
Yeah, he's managed to hold that reserve, as I've noticed as well. Sarkis is in cool-down mode at the moment for his overtake. So he's waiting to redeploy later on in the lap, possibly when he gets back out towards the main straight here of Portimao. I know you don't do a whole lot of driving, Dean.
No, sir.
On iRacing.
And in real life. Yeah.
Have you done any driving at all at any of these circuits on the calendar coming up?
In Formula One games back in the day, yes, but
yes.
yeah, this track as well too, but it's been a long time. He's going to burn this overtake all this lap. Definitely,
he's going for the fast
He's going
for fastest lap.
I think Felipe will burn all of his on the next lap if he's saving. So let's see how this comes across the line. No,
it wasn't even fastest. He couldn't do it. So he's just going to use it all up across this final lap. He might as well keep it on. I mean, use it if you've got it.
Well,
as Sarkis, just quickly as well, Sarkis has also now put his overtake on too. He has a lot less than what Amel has. So Amel's been in cruise control the whole race, where Sarkis has been forced to push.
The only risk, of course, of doing this is, you got a risk of getting the fastest, or a reward of getting the fastest lap, but your risk is you can come off. Because, you've got that excess kilowatt energy, and you're approaching these corners at absolutely high speed, so it's full concentration levels through the roof, and, could be potentially throwing away a race win just to bag a couple of points and bragging rights of taking the fastest lap, but you try to tell a driver not to go quicker.
Yeah, you try bringing that up with them and see what they say to you. I've also just checked out a merchant as he starts his final lap. He's got 80 seconds worth of overtake available, so he'll have that for the whole of the last lap as we traverse up towards the final parabolica for the leader. So yeah, there's merchant. So he's got this overtake on for the whole lap. He's going to try and go for fastest lap as Amel traverses around the final parabolica of the Autodromo Internacional de Algarve and up towards the start-finish line with the overtake with barely any left in the tank. He crosses the line, P1 on the road. Here in the feature race, does a 24.5 on the last lap. Sarkis comes home P2 with a 24.8. He didn't quite get the fastest lap. And now Brenner comes home P3. Sanchez P4, Smith inside of the top 5. So Merchant needs to find some pace here, Dean, although it hasn't actually counted Amel's last lap as the fastest. He must have had an off track. So for these drivers inside of the top 10, like Jace Meyer and Ryan Tilbor and David Sekernik, they'll run their way down towards the final section. And they'll run their way down towards the start-finish line as well. But what a night of racing. What a night for these drivers of League Zero. And we look ahead to the next 3 weeks out at the US, Dean, for Portland, Long Beach, and Sebring. These are going to be some championship-making rounds. I tell you what, they are going to be imperative. And for Merchant, well, he's going to have to bring a little bit of luck with him to the US of A. He got the fastest lap. He got the fastest lap.
On the last lap.
He technically already had... because the lap didn't count for Amel, but he did get it at 124.5, so that's an immense effort there for Adam Merchant. But yeah, I mean, he'll come into the US next week for 3 weeks in a row, Dean, and these next three rounds are crucial. They head us up towards the midway point of the season, and they head us up towards championship making or breaking period of this series, as well as we get our provisional race results. For race number 2, Adibe Amel will finish at a P1 ahead of Felipe Sarkis in P2. AJ Brenner for your top 3 in race 2 here this evening. Fabian Sanchez, Dustin Smith for the top 5. Jace Meyer, Ryan Tilbor, David Sekernik, Michael Briscoe, and KH Donahue for the top 10. Nick Patterson, Adam Merchant, Larry Johnson, Gal Rolls, Jacob Wilson for the top 15. Arturo Mayorga, Robert Nobles, Leo Del Mar, Xavier Senat for the double header of Frenchman at the back of the field, James Turnbull and Cameron Kill at the back of the field. Fortunately, those guys are a hell of a lot of laps down. Arturo Mayorga was the last driver across the line here in this race as well. But Dean, a big night of racing, a big season ahead, of course, as we exit Europe and head out to the US of A for the next 3 weeks. It's going to be intense. It's going to be tough. And next week at Portland, it's going to be a little bit of the unknown, where we don't quite know who's going to have the speed. We don't quite know how they're going to go. We don't quite know what's going to happen at that circuit.
And I don't quite have the circuit either. So I'll have to be purchasing that one, and I'll be looking forward to it, absolutely. Yeah, it's just a big question mark, really, put next to it, isn't it? But we do know what's going to happen with the rest of the tracks there. qualifying is very, very important, as I said, for Long Beach, so you've got to get that practice in. But of course, I think they might be able to put a lot of practice into Portland.
Into Portland, yeah.
Can't absolutely wait. It's been fantastic again. I mean, it got a little bit a slower towards the end of this race, but wow, what a cracker of a heat race. And Adam Merchant eventually finished in P12 after a lot of damage recovery here for man that was clearly, you'd have to say, the quickest man around Portimao.
Yeah, he was. He was. He proved that he had the pace in that one. He proved it in qualifying. He proved it obviously throughout the race as well. The inconsistency is what cost him in the end. So we'll head out to Portland next week. We'll see who brings their best to that circuit as well. And it's one that you guys do not want to miss. So be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. The bell icon as well, so you're notified whenever we go racing here on JP Broadcasting. With an immense amount of racing across the world of iRacing here on JP Broadcasting, we've got so much on offer for you as Sarkis took the first heat round. So they've actually equal. They've finished equal in this one. I believe Amel gets the round win, though, for winning the feature. So Amel and Sarkis were the two to beat here at Autodromo Internacional Algarve. So it was a massive amount of racing once again. I've been Hamish Munro with Dean Biggles alongside. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here with us. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. The bell icon as well, so you're notified whenever we go racing here on the JP Broadcasting channel, with many and outfits of racing here through iRacing, ACC, Race Room, R Factor 2 and F122 as well. We appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here with us once again. But until next time, stay safe, drive hard, and as always, bye for now.